Hello, everyone, and welcome to Dreamleapers Inspiration. I'm your host, Harriet Cole. So glad to be with you today. And the big question, how are you? If you answer that question, not just with a knee jerk, fine, what would you say? How are you doing right now? If you are checking in with yourself, what is your state? For me, I just said to my team, I need a weekend after my weekend because I feel a little bit tired. I had a very long list of things to do. I did many of them, but the list remains long with things that didn't get done yet. There's a lot going on, and a lot of responsibilities, a lot of intense energy, and that takes a toll. And I was just thinking about what people are going through now, what they are thinking about, what they are talking about, what we are thinking and talking about, what takes up our time, and what are the distractions that get in the way. And when there's so much intense energy, how we react. And one of the things that I've noticed is that our fuse can be short, when you feel that you've got a lot on your shoulders, when you have concerns, when that not everything is solved, when you have worries outside of your power, and just a lot of questions, your temper can be short. Your ability to show compassion can be limited. Your just it's even hard to find the words for this, but I feel like we can be negative, we can be quick to judge, quick to point fingers, quick to just be in a swirl of intense energy that is often negative when there is a feeling of lack or fatigue or worry. And a whole lot of people are living in that space right now for many reasons. I spent some time just talking to folks this weekend, and one of the things that happened was at a certain point, I said, "Yeah, I don't want to talk about that anymore. I don't want to complain. I don't want to listen to complaints. I don't want to criticize." It's not that whatever it was we were talking about couldn't be or shouldn't be criticized, not that, but more it was, I don't want to. I went to an event that in many ways was really nice, and in other ways was not. It wasn't as well produced as it could have been, as it probably should have been. Um, the folks hosting the event have a track record of not always doing it at the best, and there were people complaining. Well, at a certain point, I said, I'm not going to complain anymore. Why? I knew what the quality of the event was probably going to be. It was fine. It wasn't great, but it was better than it sometimes is. So I made up my mind. I'm going to say something kind. I'm going to think something kind and positive, and I'm going to take a deep breath and not say something negative. Accept the moment for what it was rather than complaining in my head or out loud about what it could be. And it was not easy to do. It was kind of wrestling with myself to stop when the complaints were filling in my head. And that's why I thought, let's talk about practicing active kindness today, because it's almost like a muscle that you need to develop and continue to use so that when faced with whatever the circumstances may be, you can choose to be kind. You can choose to see the positive in a situation. It doesn't mean that you are looking at things um, like they say, with rose-colored glasses. It's not like you're making something up that isn't true. But what is the positive that you can find? What is the kind thought and word that you can offer to a situation that may uplift it, rather than going down the rabbit hole of negativity? Sometimes it's really hard to do. In that particular instance, it wasn't the easiest to do because many people were like, "Ugh, this is good, but this is I like the idea of this, but." And I just decided I'm I know what I think about it. I came anyway. I enjoyed myself, and I'm just gonna hold on to the positive and be grateful that the effort was made to create this experience and that many people had a positive experience. Okay, so that's somebody else's event. Think about yourself. Think about things that are going on in your world. How often do you just complain? Do you look through the lens of negativity? Why is this happening? I don't believe, how often do you do that? And to what end? Does it make you feel better when you complain? Does it have any kind of positive impact if you have a short temper and you react in the moment in an unkind way? Does it make the moment better? Now, I spoke to a friend who said, I'm always being kind. I'm tired of being kind. I'm tired of being the one who's kind when other people aren't kind. Why do I have to always be kind? Sometimes people take kindness for weakness. Sometimes people bully folks who behave in a kind manner all the time. That is also true. But I don't think we need to look at kindness as something that is negative. I think it can be a source of strength too, that putting kindness forth first can clear the air, can soften the edges. It can it can make it possible for people to look for goodness in the moment when maybe a moment before they were not, you know? Thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl from Philly says, "Love the catlet." Yeah, sharecroppers behind me. Um, I don't want us to think about kindness as any kind of weakness at all. I think that I think that we can, kindness is like light. And one of the things that my mother used to say to my sisters and me all the time was to surround yourself with light, to to notice the bright lights in the room. This is a very specific thing. Notice the bright lights in the room. And if you are drawn to that positivity and that light, then what happens? Other things get cleared away. When you step into the light, you can see more clearly. When you are drawn to light, you often get a better perspective on things. It's really interesting how it works. So let's take a look at the quote that I found because I had some fun digging around for quotes today to bring to you. And this one says, kindness can transform someone's dark moment with a blaze of light. You'll never know how much your caring matters. Make a difference for another today. This is from Amy Lee Mercray. Let me say it again. Kindness can transform someone's dark moment with a blaze of light. You'll never know how much your caring matters. Make a difference for another today. So, kindness can transform someone's dark moment with a blaze of light that, psh, like that's strong, a blaze of light. It's like fire. The burning sensation and cleansing reality that fire can have. Now, fire also can burn, yes, but it can burn away the impurities and help you to see what is real. And she says kindness can transform someone's dark moment with a blaze of light. I love that notion because when we are feeling down, when we're feeling frustrated, when all those things that I was talking about at the very beginning of this broadcast, when we feel burdened, we often associate that with darkness, with weight. But lightness, light represents a kind of freedom. And when you can offer it to other people, see the other piece about what Amy is saying here, she's talking about service. She says, you'll never know how much your caring matters. Make a difference for another today. So, one of the things that I've learned, especially when you're feeling kind of down, if you do something kind for someone else, it lightens your load, even if you feel like you don't have one more ounce of energy. If you offer kindness and thoughtfulness and tenderness and love to someone else, when you're feeling low, it gives you energy. It actually works. And sometimes we think, oh, I couldn't do one more thing. And maybe at that moment, maybe you should take a nap or take a walk, do something for yourself. But when you're feeling tense and fraught and uncomfortable, doing something kind for somebody else makes such a big difference. Yesterday we were driving on the West Side Highway and there was a young man standing in the middle of the highway. And it was at a point where there are stoplights, and we were at a stoplight, and a young 20-something man, very disheveled, was walking around with a sign and hoping that someone would give him something, money, bottle of water, something. And my husband gave him $1, and you could see the gratitude in his eyes, but also you could see just how worn he was. This is a young man, and at this stage in his life, wherever he had been, he wasn't there now. He was in distress. And that act of kindness, offering him $1, put a smile on his face. It was a moment of human to human kindness. Sometimes it can just be a smile. It doesn't have to be a gift of money or something else. Just seeing someone, seeing the humanity in another. It can transform someone's dark moment with a blaze of light. I often talk about my mother, and we were sharing the other day, the place where she lives, there are a lot of caretakers who love helping her because she's always positive. And I mean, she really is always positive. It's an amazing thing. But her body's in a lot of pain. So when they are helping her to do things, she often has pain and often even cries out in pain. And after every moment when there may be some pain, when it's finished, she thanks the people for taking care of her. Even if whatever they did helped to create some pain. She may have been in anguish in one moment, and in the next, there's a big smile. Thank you. Thank you for taking care of me every time. You think about how that feels. These folks who are working in assisted living places, anyone working in healthcare, very often people do not acknowledge the folks who are helping them. But when you do, it's like a blaze of light, a blaze of goodness that, yes, You want to help take care of somebody who expresses gratitude. You want to go the extra mile if someone is saying, thank you for doing your best to take care of me, even if it was painful. Thank you for doing your best." And I learned years ago, because I also grew up in a household where 100% is required at all times. My father was a taskmaster. You were supposed to be excellent all the time, period. And, not everybody grew up like that. None of us can be excellent all the time, period. But I used to sometimes think, oh, if someone was doing something that just wasn't up to par, I would get really frustrated. And sometimes I still do. I get frustrated because that is not that person doing their best, would be my thought. This couldn't possibly be their best. And someone said to me, for the most part, people do their best. It may not be the best that can be done in a situation. It may not be the best that you could do in the situation, but in that moment, people generally do their best. And if you can accept that, there can be some softness around the edges. Think about it. So, okay, if you really didn't do a good job, like I teach class now at FIT, and one of my students turned in a paper, and I mean, this is a student who I pay attention to, and I know this person thinks differently, and therefore this was really rushed. And at first it made me mad. I have to read this, and I know you didn't spend enough time on it. And then I sat back and took a deep breath and I said, okay, where engage your kindness, Harriet, and also empathy. So what happened? And so I was able to say, I think you rushed when you wrote this because I know that you can do better because I listened to you in class and I know how you think. So please put forth a little bit more effort next time. That was not my first reaction. My first reaction was frustration. I have to read this and you didn't take the time to do your best. But that's it may have been that person's best in that moment. Maybe they needed a weekend from their weekend. Maybe they were exhausted. You just never know. I'm looking at some of these comments. I got a lot of folks writing in today. Audrey says, kindness is a strength. Glenda, yeah, so true. Let's see. Gratitude is key and active kindness goes a long way. Yes. Hey, tell me, those of you who are tuned in, tell me where you are. I realize I've been so folks writing in here and letting us know, that's one way we find out. But also, as I've been out and about, and I've been very much out and about recently, I have heard from folks who are all over the country, all over the world, who tune into inspiration sometimes in the moment and sometimes later. So, can you tell us? Can you write in the chat box where are you right now? Where in the world are you? And if you want to say an act of kindness that you believe has made a difference, you can write it in or you can join. You could go to harrietcole.com/inspiration and come on the platform with me and talk to me now if you like, talking about kindness. Who has shown you kindness recently and it had a big impact on your life? Is there a moment that you can think of? I remember telling you guys a few weeks ago, I was walking down the street in my neighborhood and there was a man who was quite disheveled. He looked like he was unhoused, and he was rounding a corner as I was walking down the street, and it was kinda cold outside, as I recall, and so I was my face was tight, and he looked at me and said, "Smile, sister," and I know there's a smile in there, something like that, and it was a blaze of light. It pow like it got me. And immediately, I realized my face was tight. I was holding myself in, and he immediately broke through that, and I was able to crack a smile. This is someone I don't know. If I saw him tomorrow, I might not recognize that it's the same person. He saw the humanity in me. He saw that I needed that that blaze of light, and he was able to offer it. Who has done for you something that just an act of kindness that made a difference in your life recently? And have you noticed it? So Layla is writing, my neighbors would always go fishing when I was little and always share a fish with us. I grew up in such a community. We lean on one another with no problem. It was a way of life. Yes. Sharing. Sharing.
Uh-huh.
Imagine that. Sharing is something that community used to just do naturally. I think about as I've traveled around the world and also just looking in my own community, often people who have less share more. I don't know why that is so, but if you think about people who are so-called poor people, you know, don't make that much money, maybe there are a lot of children in the family and they're trying to figure out how they can have enough food on the table, they often will say, "There's always room for one more at the table." That food can always stretch to make sure that there's enough for whoever needs a bowl of soup or a plate of food. That doesn't necessarily happen as much when you go into wealthier spaces. But if you look around the world, you so often see people who are of the community share with each other, extend a helping hand, a bowl of soup, help in the yard, whatever it might be. Yeah, I got a column question recently. Oh, and here's Virginia. She says she's in Massachusetts. Hi, Virginia. I write a column, Sense and Sensitivity. People write in their questions and I answer them. It's kind of like Ann Landers or Dear Abby. I've been writing this for 22 years, you guys, long time. Someone recently wrote in a question. I don't know how old this person was, but the person was younger than the neighbor. And the person wrote saying that they often are asked for help around the yard, help with the trash, do this or that for their neighbor who is an older person. And the person writing in was feeling frustrated. Well, I'm always helping my neighbor, but she's never helping me. And I feel like I'm the only one giving, and I'm tired of that. Well, I understand that. I understand if things feel one-sided, that you could feel taken advantage of. And I also know, isn't it our role if there are elders in our community, if there are people who are in need, that's just human nature to help them, right? Now, if you want to build a different kind of rapport, maybe ask the lady, "Oh, can we have tea at your house sometime together?" Or, "Can I come and just sit and talk with you?" Creating a space to build a rapport with someone can be really lovely, but feeling like it's too much to share with an elder when you can do it and it's not harming you, that seems really selfish to me, and I don't want us to go down that path. It doesn't mean that you have to do every single thing that your neighbor asks. It could mean sometimes say, "I can do this, but maybe you should get a handyman to do that." You can help guide what the relationship is, but to hold back on your kindness when it's not harming you to be helpful is unkind, is selfish, or at least in my way of looking at the world, it is. Let me tell you what some folks have been writing in. I'm working on being positive and giving gratitude, Chicago. Yes, it is a muscle to exercise, isn't it? Sometimes it's so easy to be negative, especially if you are feeling lack. If you feel like you don't have what you need, if you're worried about what's next, it can be really difficult to be positive. Let's see, Colbert, I think. I just read a quote from RFK in the 60s. Those who enter the conflict with us will find companions in every corner of the world. That's a good one. So if you don't feel like you're alone, but you're entering whatever the space is, community, that's talking about community. Those who enter the conflict with us will find companions in every corner of the world. I recently heard Angela Davis speak, and she talked about, I may have said this to you all before, the difference between individuality and individualism. Individuality, yes, we are all individuals, but individualism is when it's all about me and not you. She says, be wary of that. When we have community, when we lock arms, when we support each other, then we can get things done even when we're tired because the person on the left or the right can pick up the slack when needed. And that's kind of like what RFK is saying. Let's see, another person says, let me look here. I stay focused. This Quaff do. I stay focused on my goals and drawn out the hate. Quick messages of support go a long way. Pods like this are important too. Thank you. You know, Sydney says, looking forward to being an upcoming guest. Hi, Sydney. I think it is essential for us to choose the positive. I think it is essential for us to realize that we're not in this alone. When you feel alone, you feel exhausted, you know? Ang says, turn off the TV media and work on your goals, engage with your neighbor. Now, this is so important. Having a controlled diet of news. A lot of people since the beginning of this year have felt I have to watch the news all the time. I don't know what's going to happen. Is the world going to fall in? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? But then you have the news on rotation and you hear the same things over and over again. That is not discipline. That is filling your being with too much information and probably negativity. Doesn't mean that you shouldn't know what's going on in the world, but you must stick to your goals and focus. We talk about focus here a lot. You must know where you're headed and stay on that path and not allow yourself to be derailed by anything, including when the negativity and the pressure and the worry comes over you. A way to shift it, which we're talking about today, is to practice active kindness. Be kind. Be positive. Choose to be positive. Take that deep breath when you feel like you're going to say something negative and stop. And replace it with silence or something positive. Make it an exercise. Build it out as a muscle. It's not easy to do, but you can do it. Be still. Meditation is very helpful in this regard because it can help cleanse your spirit. Instead of when you feel yourself complaining, even if it's just an internal complaint, pause, breathe, allow yourself to take cleansing breaths and to just be with yourself and to trust that you're good. Give yourself that blaze of light by practicing active kindness with yourself. Give yourself the gift of kindness. If you haven't done your best, don't beat yourself up. Just do better next time. Okay. Rose says, let's see, you've written it two different ways, so let me see. I'm going to read the second one because you're rephrasing it. Let me rephrase that in my Brooklyn accent. When I see someone need something, I'm there to send it forward to them. Simple acknowledgement is needed by everyone. Yes. Yes. A glance, a smile, an affirmation of gratitude, choosing to say something positive, offering a compliment. You know, I remember one time I was working on a project in my at a meditation retreat, and we were all in many hours getting ready for this big event. And a woman I was working with, I saw in the morning, and she looked really tired. And I said, "Oh, you look tired." And she looked at me and she said, "That is not what I need to hear right now. That is not helpful. We have a whole day ahead of us. Say something positive. Keep things like that to yourself. That doesn't help me to have more energy." It was perfect because it was true. What you wanna do is set people up for success. Offer whatever energy you can to make the moment the best moment possible. So rather than pointing out, "Girl, you look tired," it could be, "Would you like a cup of tea? Would you like some water? What can I do to help you? How can I support you today?" That would be the act of kindness in a moment like that. Pointing out, "Girl, you need a nap. You need to" not helpful, not kind. I was happy that she gave me that input because I hadn't thought about it. Think before you speak. Isn't that something that we're told all the time? Think before you speak. You can, you should. So today, practice active kindness with yourself and with others. Take a deep breath before you think something negative. Cleanse your thoughts. Before you say something sharp, take a deep breath. Allow yourself to see goodness in the moment and speak to that. Allow yourself to help uplift a moment, even if you have to share some information that may be difficult to share. And by the way, for those of you who feel like you're always being the kind one and people are dumping on you, consider your kindness as a blaze of light. It's strong, it's powerful, it's not weak. It's strong, it's powerful, it's not weak. You are strong, powerful, and full of light. Thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for all of you who connected here live and for those who will be connecting on demand. Until next time, have a great day and make it count. Namaste.